Welcome back, everybody. My name is Tucker, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about some teams that it might be time for them to tank. I know it's early in the year, but there are some clear signs for some of these teams that maybe it's time to just go ahead and start focusing on next season. And I'm not saying 100% that these teams should. We're having a conversation. We're talking about whether or not they should go ahead and lean into the tank and start focusing on next year. That's what we're going to be talking about in today's video. So we're going to start off with a couple of easy ones here. Here's two teams that there's no reason that they should be doing anything other than focusing on next season and tanking. The first is the Detroit Pistons. We kind of all knew this going into the year. I think Detroit was the only team in the entire league that did not know that this should be a tanking season for them. They went out and got some bigs. They went out and spent a lot of money on Jeremy Grant, but now Killian Hayes is out. Derrick Rose is going to be someone that's, they're going to look to trade by the trade deadline. Ditto for Blake Griffin. I don't see any reason for this team to continue to put in a ton of effort and play all these veterans and stuff throughout the season. Focus on the young guys, develop those younger players. They have plenty of, rookies and young players on this roster to play. They need to focus on their development, on getting value out of the veterans on the roster, getting assets in exchange for those guys, and focusing on everything else moving forward. Like I said, it seemed like they came into the season thinking that they need to be doing something other than that. I'm not sure why. But now it's very clear based off the start of the season that Detroit's not going to be challenging for a playoff spot. Just go and focus on next year. The other team is a team that actually has a 500 record right now, but there's no reason for them to be as good as they are. And it's the Oklahoma City Thunder. And the reasoning that I could see someone making for like, oh no, don't tank, is they've already got so many picks that it would be nice to have a top pick in this 2021 draft, but they've already got different pieces they can move around and go and move up and get someone in this draft they want to. And it also has the benefit of, if they're playing well, rehabbing the image of some players like Al Horford that could potentially be used as trade assets down the road as well. But for me, it's just go out and get another really, really good player. We know that Shea's awesome. There's some other interesting young pieces here. Just go and get a top 2021 guy, and then you can try and be good moving forward. And I'm not saying they're trying to be. I mean, they're 4-4. The same thing happened last year, although there was more talent on the roster where people didn't expect much from them, and then they were good. And maybe this is just what Oklahoma City does. They put together these weird rosters, and they end up actually being decent. But I would imagine that if they could choose tomorrow, they would choose to take, the first or the second pick in this upcoming draft, rather than, be anything close to the 8th, 9th, or the 10th seed for this upcoming season. Like I said, the only counter argument to that would be if they really want to make Al Horford look good as a potential trade asset down the road, but ultimately I think it's time for them to lean into the tank. So those are the easy ones, but now let's get to some more difficult ones. So let's talk about the Toronto Raptors. This team they just haven't been good to begin the season, whether it be shot making, whether it be defensively, whether it be their front court rotation, whatever the case may be. This is a team that we've gotten used to over the last couple of years. Consistent, overperformance, right? I mean, nobody really expected them to win the title in 2019. And then the last year, nobody really expected them to be as good as they were in their first season without Kawhi. And I think now they're starting to come back down to earth a little bit. And it's worth asking the question if right now it's just worth them going to get another big-time player at the top of this 2021 class. And something hanging over all this is this 2021 class looks like it's going to be a very, very talented one. And for a team like Toronto that has good players, Kyle Lowry's obviously getting older, but Anunoby, Van Vliet, Siakam, hopefully, those are all good players. But if you add another big-time piece to that, that can change the entire projection of their team moving forward, in addition to the salary cap space they're going to have in 2021. So I know that this has become, one of the most competent organizations in the entire league over the last couple of seasons, but maybe it's time for them to have one off year so that they can come back next year ready to go and just, increase the talent base they have on this roster. I don't know if that's actually what they're going to do, if that's even the right decision. It's just, I think it's worth having a conversation about, is it time for Toronto to maybe start taking a look at doing something different this season than making the playoffs. The next one is a similar situation to Toronto, and it's the San Antonio Spurs. And this is probably the most difficult conversation because they're actually decent this year, 4-4. They're going to be in contention for a playoff spot all season long, especially with the play-in game stuff now. They can easily be the 10th seed in the West and potentially, make a run at being, the last team into the postseason. But ultimately, if there's a bit more of a long-form view on this, I think they'll understand that trading away Aldridge and DeRozan for assets this year, going to get a nice young player at the top of this draft, and then going forward with all the guards they have, Vassell, and then whoever they pick in this 2021 class, is the much smarter move. But I don't know if there's just this stubbornness. I don't know if they are just so locked in on being consistently good every year that they just can't give in to this idea of going to get a big time player. But if we all remember, that's kind of how the whole thing started, right? Was they got Tim Duncan because it was just a weird, crazy year where they had injuries and they weren't very good. They got Duncan, and then 20 years later, they're still rocking and rolling, right? And I don't know why they wouldn't lean into that idea a little bit more. It doesn't seem like they're all that motivated to move either Aldridge or DeRozan, or to be a below average team this year. They look like they're just going to keep trying to be an average NBA team and make the playoffs. But I would argue, and I don't know if you guys agree with this, that it would be a better idea, similarly to the Raptors situation, for them to just go ahead and start playing the younger guys a little bit more and feel out some offers for DeRozan and Aldridge, and see what you can get for those guys, because they've got plenty of young players to play. That's definitely not an issue. And then even some veterans like Patty Mills and stuff could be moved potentially for value as well. I don't know if it's just a Popovich thing, and they just, Popovich is not trying to coach a team that's not trying to win. I don't know what the case is. But at some point, they need to make a decision here on what they're going to do. And I think that would be the smartest move, but I'm interested to see what you guys have to say down in the comment section below. And then another one here in this difficult category is the Memphis Grizzlies. And this is a team that a lot of people had high expectations for coming into the season, specifically with Ja Morant. This could be a playoff team pretty easily this year when you looked at them on paper. And this one I'm having the most difficult time with, because it's not like they're bad, they're just hurt, right? And, they have one of the worst records in the West as of today, but they could easily turn that around in a week and suddenly they're back into playoff contention. But with the injuries to Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr., I think it's worth asking the question, is it better to save the long-term health of those guys, be a little bit more cautious about their return for this season, and go get another big-time player at the top of the class? Because I've made this argument in the past. I love that combination of Jaren Jackson Jr. and Ja Morant. But is it quite enough to really get you towards the top of the Western Conference when both of those guys get to their peak? I don't know. And I do know that it certainly would help to have one more big-time young player growing alongside those guys. Obviously, they've got someone like Brandon Clark there, but ultimately he projects as a really high-value complementary player, and not necessarily like another big-time player that could be available at the top of this 2021 class. So I'm not necessarily advocating for this for Memphis, because I don't think it would be difficult for them to get their guys back and be a good team this year and push for the 8th seed in the West. But if you really wanted to talk, again, just like with these other teams, about a long-form view, maybe it would be a better idea to go after someone at the top of the 2021 class and kind of lean into that a little bit more, and more specifically be cautious about the return of Morant, Jaren Jackson Jr. Don't rush those guys back just to try and make the 8th seed and risk potential re-injury that could affect your season the following season. And last up, a team that was not included to this point, some of you are probably thinking, why is this team not on here, is the Minnesota Timberwolves, who are dealing with a similar situation to Memphis in that Karl Anthony Towns has missed a ton of games this year, and they're still trying to wait and see when he's going to come back. And without him, they have not been very good. They've got plenty of perimeter talent, but their big man rotation has been devastated by the fact that Karl Anthony Towns has been unable to play in these games. The problem is they owe their pick to Golden State unless it's in the top 3, and with the lottery odds, even if they have the worst record, the second worst record in the league, it's still, realistic to expect that they could give that pick up. It could fall at 4 or 5 and they could lose that pick to Golden State. So I wouldn't advocate for a tanking season for the Timberwolves. I would try and be as good as you can, get confidence with these young players, specifically because this is a franchise that has not had very much postseason experience at all over the last 15 years. And I would prioritize making sure that these younger guys are understanding what it means to win, and focus on that and developing good habits, rather than trying to get into the top 3 of this draft and hope, cross your fingers, that you're going to get good odds and keep the pick within the top 3. They might end up there regardless, but I would rather, play the veterans a little bit more and lean into some more winning habits and some good habits here in Minnesota. Hope that when Karl Anthony Towns comes back, that helps them go up the standings a little bit more, rather than keep your fingers crossed for the lottery odds. That's just my personal opinion. I could see people making an argument in the opposite direction, but them owing that pick to Golden State definitely complicates their situation for this season. But that is going to be the end of the second video of today. Like I said, I'm just wanting to have a conversation about these teams. Do you guys think that any of them should tank? Let me know down in the comment section below. If you missed my previous video earlier today, I did something a little bit different. I was overly positive about every single team in the NBA. You guys should go check that out. It was a super fun video that I did, like I said, earlier today. But that is going to be the end of today's video. As I said, once again, my name is Tucker. You can check out the boxes on screen for any previous videos I've done. You can also leave a like rating on the video as well. Helps me out a ton and gets it out to more people on YouTube YouTube as well. I upload twice a day, every day. So if this is content you guys enjoy, then be sure to subscribe. And you can check me out at various socials at the bottom of the screen as well. Those are in a link tree down in the description below. With all those things said, hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day, and I will see you all next time.